Well, she's probably not a blossom by marriage, so...
Her name was Rose. You look me in the eye and tell me that the fucked up Blossom clan didn't look at their daughter and said her name's either gotta be Cheryl or Rose.
Yeah.
If we don't give the kid a pun name, they're gonna get kicked out of the family tree.
So what you're implying is that Grandma is also a cousin.
Yeah. Listen, we got Rose Blossom, we got Cheryl Blossom, we got... I don't know why Jason didn't have a pun name. We've got Penny Blossom. We've got Clifford the Big Red Dog Blossom.
Sugar. Oh, honey, honey.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome back to Tanner's Books and Beyond. Here again with my friend Lindsay, and this is our recap of the 5th episode of Riverdale.
Oh boy! This got gothic. Okay, so it starts with Cheryl in a dream, in a red gown with a candelabra like a gothic heroine.
Yeah, in the ancient family home of the Blossoms, Thornhill.
That has its own graveyard.
Yeah.
It's your boy ruining the session! Get up! I look terrible. I need to have a shower first.
Ryan, join us. Join us. See if we can explain to you what happened in this episode.
Alright, go ahead.
Okay, so...
This is Ryan, my brother.
He might secretly be a Blossom.
Maybe. I don't know.
It starts off, we got Cheryl Blossom. Her twin brother is dead.
Oh, fine.
And so she's in their family home, like this big gothic mansion. She's walking through it with like a candelabra and shit. And she comes across like his zombified corpse ghost. But it's just a dream.
Okay, so, I thought this was just going to become Archie's weird mystery.
After that happens, we've got Betty and Jughead and Kevin, who are investigating the mystery on their own, because Kevin's dad is the sheriff and his murder board got stolen.
Fun.
So they recreate it at the school, which is like, that seems like a pretty public place to be accusing people of killing a teenager.
Yeah, especially with people walking in and, janitorial staff probably going like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. We find out that Betty is going on a date with Trevor, who's one of the Pussycats, her younger brother.
He used to be on the football team.
And so he knew Jason, who's the dead guy. And he's like, they go on a date, but it's just an information date. And he's like, Jason was selling all of his stuff. It's like selling drugs and things. And he got in a big fight with Polly.
And then he died.
So what happened next? Archie.
Valerie is tutoring him and tips him off about this music teacher. He's like, okay, I'm going to audition for him or whatever. At the same time, he's dealing with football practice. Oh yeah, he was training himself with boxing. Right? You're the football expert. Is that good training?
I mean... during the off season.
No, he was like, I'm gonna get ready to be football captain. He had
insanely tired.
He has a cheat sheet on his arm, and he keeps looking at it, and so he doesn't see himself get tackled, and then he fucks up his wrist, and it's his guitar wrist because he's also been busy writing his songs, so he has to get his head in the game.
Yeah, so there's a cute little moment with Veronica bandaging up his wrist and telling him, this is your $1 million wrist.
He's doubting himself because the music teacher that Valerie introduced him said he wasn't that good. And he's kind of hinting like, I feel like Ms. Grundy may have said you were good just so she could get in your pants.
So anyway, the big crux of the episode is the whole build-up to Jason's official, this is for real funeral.
Yes, at their spooky house. They've invited Grandma Rose over, who is like the creepiest old lady you could get.
She's got like a blind eye. She's in a wheelchair.
So you go to like the old lady value village.
Yeah.
Old ladies for your TV shows. Like, that's the one. That's the one you need. And you wheel her over.
Basically. Yeah, so the major thing is a funeral, and oh yeah, maple syrup.
So Riverdale was founded on maple syrup.
Just a bunch of old colonial families in the maple syrup business. And then Grandpappy Blossom. But he probably killed all the other people involved in the maple syrup business so that the Blossoms could have a maple syrup monopoly.
Man, Aunt Jemima really stepped up her tactics over the years. It's some brutal-ass business. Maple syrup industry is tougher than the mafia. Jesus Christ.
We find at the funeral, first there's a lot of drama. Well, there's drama beforehand.
Yeah, because
This is Riverdale.
Cheryl invites Veronica and just Veronica for a sleepover.
She's like, God, Veronica, you're the only bitch who is as tough as I am. Please help me stand up to my mother.
Who is terrifying.
Fucking yes.
Poor Veronica, because the Blossoms and the Lodges do not get along, has to deal with a very tense dinner.
And then the next day at the actual funeral, it's the weirdest fucking funeral. Because first off, Archie's showing up in his Letterman jacket.
So, of course, he looks just like Jason, because he's the only other ginger on the team, who is also wearing his number, that he does give to Mrs. Blossom.
He gives it to his boss and he's like, we should have retired this when Jason died. And
Yeah, no shit.
And but Miss Blossom replies, you look just like him.
No! You don't do that! No! Bad things!
And then immediately cuts to his friends and they're all like... And also, Jughead's still wearing his hat.
Well, I mean, that's just a part of his head.
I guess so.
Yeah.
They're about to get things underway, and the Blossom parents are approaching, and then just like, Bargain Bin Lana Del Rey starts singing Shout, and Cheryl strides in, all white, in the dress you wore the day Jason faked his death.
On a historical note, white used to be a funeral color. And not just any funeral color. White mourning, the most austere of mourning that you could do. And it was usually reserved for, like, high nobility and royalty.
It's also worn by brides,
Yeah.
and I'm so shocked that they didn't start playing the wedding march when she showed up.
And Cheryl was also forbidden from giving a eulogy, because apparently she would make it all about her.
She is not the favorite child. I'd call her the redheaded stepchild, but the whole fucking family is redheaded.
And I have said a lot about, Cheryl having, like, some sort of personality disorder, and I still stand by that, because she is very narcissistic, but at the same time, like, when you have parents like that, I do feel sorry for her.
After the intensity of the funeral, we get Betty and Jughead sneaking into Jason's room, because Jughead's like, the closest thing you can find to talking to the dead is investigating their rooms. Because I guess he's done this before. I don't know. So what do you think that this dead teenager kept in his room?
The necromonic.
Close. It's his grandmother. She's just chilling there in the dark corner. Jughead and Betty are sleeping around. She's just like, oh, hello there!
Oh, yeah. That's supposed to be it.
It's been so long since I've seen you! Come closer, Polly!
She's going to do a soul transfer.
Betty,
Get out.
Betty's like, oh my god, Jughead, she thinks I'm my sister. And Jughead's like, go, just roll with it. Go, do it.
Just get some information out of this.
Yeah.
So, Grandma reveals that Polly and Jason had gotten engaged, even though they're, 17?
And Jason stole the engagement ring that's been in the Blossom family for generations!
And actually, Grandma was rather supportive of this.
Yeah.
And also, Betty had seen her dad and Clifford Blossom, arguing over something, so later on she asked, what were you guys talking about?
Maple syrup, Betty!
Yeah, so Betty reveals that I do know about the engagement. What else have you haven't been telling me? So there was a big fight between Jason and Polly, apparently, that resulted in Polly attempting suicide.
And that's what got her sent to the group home asylum place.
I would not be surprised if she suffered from depression.
Betty theorizes, and Jughead, they're both like, the person who stole the murder board probably killed Jason, and they wouldn't have been at the drive-thru last week. Betty's dad wasn't at the drive-thru, and then we see that he was actually the guy who stole the murder board.
Bit of backstory. So apparently, the Blossoms' great-grandfather killed Betty's great-grandfather, because the Coopers and the Blossoms were part of that whole Maple business.
Oh, this feud gets deeper and deeper. I'm more invested in maple syrup than I am of this whole murder mystery.
I'm assuming that this town is in, Maine, or,
Stephen King territory.
Yeah, but, the industries up there are, logging, coal, asbestos.
There is maple trees there.
I know, but that's not really something that you build an empire on.
Veronica's mom got a snake sent to her.
Yeah, by the serpents, because Hiram still owes them money.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to milk him for all he's worth. And also, Archie's dad gives Hermione a job with this company as
Yeah.
like their bookkeeper because he's like, you know what? I don't like the idea of you being alone in the middle of the night and receiving parcels with snakes in them.
Also, I love you.
And oh yeah, there was a scene where Fred walks in on Archie and Valerie writing down songs, and she was teaching him like notation and all that.
And he is the most awkward dad ever.
Yay, yo, dudes!
I'm the old
Welcome
man.
back. What's up?
You guys, oh, you're in the Pussycats. That's pretty lit. You guys were fire at the Taste of Riverdale thing.
So I'm just gonna like let you two do your stuff.
I'm gonna close the door, not all the way. And then like awkwardly side eyes them as he leaves.
Cheryl did say that her parents were gonna kill her for the eulogy. And they are planning on sending her to a boarding school in Europe.
No, they said that they would, but no one would take her.
Oh.
Because they probably
yeah.
get the email. It's like, oh, Professor Student. Oh, fuck, it's another goddamn Blossom. Don't want their bullshit.
Or like they get these like every couple of weeks and they're like, fuck. Stop writing us.
We don't want your kids. We don't want to get embroiled in your fucking maple syrup dynasty. So Ryan, what do you think is going to happen next week? The next week's episode is called Faster Pussycats Kill! Kill!
Is this just going to become Mad Max?
Maybe. All right, well, there you go. That's a pretty good summary of this week's episode. So we'll see you guys next time in a little town called Riverdale.
I think Aunt Jemima belongs to like a bigger parent company.
I don't even think Aunt Jemima's a real person.
No, she's not.